Hi, I'm Brett Becoy with the Door County Community Foundation, and we are really excited to be here for the unveiling of the renewed and rejuvenated old bell tower here at Community Foundation Square. Today is actually Giving Tuesday. You know, sometimes we forget what the Thanksgiving season is really about. You know, it started years ago where we're supposed to use this time to give thanks, but all of a sudden it became about shopping on Black Friday. And Black Friday, of course, started interrupting into Thursday afternoon as well. But not to be outdone, we started with Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday. And somewhere along the way, we began to lose sight of what Thanksgiving is really about, which is giving thanks and gratitude and appreciation for all that we have. And so the charities of the world in 2012 got together and started what we call Giving Tuesday, and that is today. It's a reminder of how many people give back to make our community special. And we want to say a couple of thank yous right now to tell to you about how many different people were involved in helping to restore this 118-year-old bell that was once located right across the street. First and foremost, I want to thank a member of our staff, Julie Hain, who has made it her mission in life to get this thing going. So we've got people who work for charity who've been working hard to make this go. We want to give thanks to Elliot Bailey of Bailey Electric. This was supposed to be a 3 or 4 hour job of work. Instead, it took about a week's worth of work as they laid new electrical wiring, high voltage wiring, built scaffolding, and did far more work than anyone anticipated. They put off a week's work of other work to dedicate themselves to this. And then finally, we want to, well, not finally, but in addition, we also want a special thanks to Fincantieri Bay Ship. We discovered after repairing the bell that we couldn't actually ring the bell, because if we rang it, we were concerned that it was going to collapse. And so within 24 hours, we had a team of engineers who volunteered their time from Fincantieri Bay Ship to diagnose the problem. Within 2 days, they had crews of volunteers spending 2 days of effort to weld it up, to repaint it, to make it work. And so now we're in a position that we can ring this bell once again. But of course, none of this is possible but for the generosity of the Clifford and Clara Herlache Heritage Foundation. It was the generosity of that family, the Herlache family, and the bank that created that made this possible. This bell was originally in a bell tower across the street in the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, what is now the Artists Guild. And in fact, if you look at the way the tower is aligned, if you stand at our edge of the parking lot, and we're going to install a marker there next spring, and you look down the tower, you can actually see how it aligns up and creates an image as if the tower was still on the old Bank of Sturgeon Bay. So first and foremost, we want to thank our friends from the Clifford and Clara Herlache Heritage Foundation, and I want you to join me in giving a warm round of applause to the folks who are going to say a few words here, John Herlache and Tom Herlache, their two sons.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for all their efforts of getting that tower back up and running. I want to thank the Community Foundation for agreeing to be the guardian of the bell. The thought of putting up the bell tower came about in 1989, which was the 100th anniversary of the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, and we wanted to do something for the community. And I always liked the Carolyn Tower at the University of Wisconsin while I was going to school there, and always thought that it'd be nice to have one in Sturgeon Bay. So that's how this all got created. And I hope that everybody in the community can enjoy it.
I just want to tell you a short story. It involves 3 people and 2 organizations. The whole idea that was put in his head was done by our parents, Cliff and Clara Herlache. They're both Wisconsin alumni. And when they would go to watch Wisconsin games, the Carolyn Tower would play, and they would both say, it would really be nice if Sturgeon Bay could have one of these. Well, in 1989, when they decided that they were going to do something special for Sturgeon Bay in celebration of the 100-year anniversary of the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, son Tom knew right away what that should be. And that was a Carolyn Tower for Sturgeon Bay. And it was through Tom's effort at the bank that all of that was made possible. So the Bank of Sturgeon Bay played a big role in having this present for us, and I think everybody appreciated it at the time. Then it fell on some hard times and nothing was played for a while on the Carrollton Tower. But then the Door County Community Foundation, which also was originated by Tom Herlache, bought these two buildings and this little community square. And one of their goals was to rebuild that clock and the Carrollton Tower and make it so it was functional again, so that Sturgeon Bay once again could appreciate the value of having something as special as the Carrollton Tower. So those are the three things. The primary protagonist is Tom Herlache. Cliff and Clara Herlache had the idea that Tom took, and then the Bank of Sturgeon Bay and the Door County Community Foundation followed through, and I think that we owe a great deal of debt to all of those people and organizations for having this very special thing in our community.
Well, it's supposed to ring at noon, so we have about 5 more minutes before it begins, and if all goes well, it'll start ringing at noon, and it'll ring from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every hour on the hour. We promise to make sure it doesn't ring at night, so we're not going to keep everybody up. I guess we can give you, since we've got a couple of minutes, a little bit of the history of how the bell got here. As we understand it, the bell was actually cast in 1900 and was installed in 1901 across the street in, was that the original Bank of Sturgeon Bay? The original location? Or is that?
The original one was
down
the
there?
block, but this was built.
Right around there? So right around 1901 when it was installed, and there was a clock tower on that corner of that building. In 1939, that tower was no longer viable and came down, and that bell was taken out, and it moved around at different places in the community, eventually ending up at the Sturgeon Bay Baptist Church. And so, of course, Tom, when he was leading the bank, reacquired that in the late 80s, and in 1990, that bell was reinstalled in the clock tower, or what is now called the Old Bell Tower that you see here, standing here today. And so one of the neat things about it, if you haven't already done so, is if you stand at the corner of our parking lot here and look down towards the building, across the street at the original Bank of Sturgeon Bay, you'll see how this tower aligns perfectly with it. The arches align with the arches on the building of the original Bank of Sturgeon Bay, so it gives the illusion as if the clock tower and that bell, that 118-year-old bell that was once in it, still stands there today. And there's some photographs of the old Bank of Sturgeon Bay that are available for you if you want to see what it looks like. And our hope is to put a marker at the edge of the parking lot so that people can come forth and take pictures and enjoy this incredible facility. So, Pam Seiler is here from our visitor bureau.
Wow.
I just thought we would say hello. Pam, would you like to say something in the 3 or 4 minutes while I'm here? That's basically what I'm trying to do, Pam. So
I have never met a microphone I didn't know.
that's kind of what I figure. So Pam is the head of our visitor bureau at Sturgeon Bay.
Congratulations. Well, thank you, everybody. I wasn't anticipating this
That's,
today.
you know.
Nice to be caught here. I am just going to say, these are the types of things that Sturgeon Bay embraces wholeheartedly. We are a Main Street community. We embrace all of our historic designated properties. Obviously, this is one of them. This is one of those things that people come and see. We have 121 historically designated properties in Sturgeon Bay. We have a walking map of all of them and the architecture and such. And this is one of those things that we can celebrate together as a community. I think that what you have done here, what you have transformed this into, is something that we're all going to be super, super excited about. And the fact that I've heard some inklings of what this can possibly play and how it can, I won't share anything that I'm not supposed to, I don't think, but I think it's a great opportunity for Sturgeon Bay, again, to just, shine the light on all the assets that we have here, and tourists, residents alike will certainly enjoy everything that we have to offer here. This community square, Community Foundation Square, that is now being transformed from what it was with Nicolay and the Bank of Sturgeon Bay prior to that, is a community center for us. You very graciously allowed us to have our tree lighting here a few weeks ago again. And for anybody who is down here, we had literally hundreds of people filling this square on the streets. And if you want your Hallmark movie moment, all you have to do is come to Sturgeon Bay. Believe me, when that tree lit up and everybody oohed and ahed, and you have families around there taking their Christmas pictures, it's one of those moments that just give us goosebumps, and we're so proud to be part of it. So thank you for the collaboration and for your willingness to work with the Sturgeon Bay Visitor Center again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to be historically correct, the Bank of Sturgeon Bay building was just what's on the corner. This piece over here was built by the Schofield Company. It was a hardware store much later. So it was a very narrow building going down to the alley. So that's more historically correct.
Thank you. There was one commitment we did have to make. You know, you've got, if you can see what Tom's wearing here and John's got on his head, and their parents, Cliff and Clara, and their commitment into our friends in Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin, is that we promised that on game days henceforth, from this bell tower shall ring forth on Wisconsin on game days, along with a special varsity recording that we had to have done as well. So those you'll be able to hear on every game day. So hopefully that spells good things. So
the bell hung in the tower at our church for about 50 years, not quite. And it was a wonderful thing that we were able to work out with the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, Bay Lake Bank, to get the bell back to its rightful place, and they worked well with us to get us a new bell. And I'm eager to hear it chime again, and eager to hear the music. And it's a great thing that the Door County Community Foundation has done to enable this to happen, and the Herlache Foundation. So it's just it's a cool thing. So I'm eager to hear it ring.